Hello, everyone. It's the last day of June 2025. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. We're looking at excessive heat and also some possible excessive rain. This is in the 3 to 7 day time period, so starting on Wednesday. So we'll take a closer look at those possibilities. Also, we've already gone through two storms in the Atlantic, named storms, believe it or not. The third one might be forming, and it would be doing so right around Florida. I'll show you where that might happen. Well, let's start out by taking a look at where areas might be seeing some heavy rain the remainder of this evening and overnight. Monday, we've got a slight risk, about 15% chance of a hazardous rain from south central Colorado down through New Mexico and back along into parts of Oklahoma and Texas. And then another area out here in Pennsylvania getting down into the Appalachians all the way down just off to the east of Knoxville. That's for the rest of tonight. And then on Tuesday, that rain shifts over to Virginia, Richmond, Washington, the Delaware area. And then we take a couple of days break where we're not really seeing much of a signal for heavy rain. But then this is a slight risk that appears Tampa, the west coast of Florida. This is Friday now. And we'll dive into a little bit more about what might be causing that here in just a minute. Here's the overall hazards beginning on July 2nd. So this is Wednesday through Sunday, basically. So we've got a heavy rain potential in Minnesota that you should be watching, that West Texas, East New Mexico threat, and then that Florida threat that I just showed you. Let's take a look at how the Euro adds up precipitation over the next 7 days. Let me just watch it kind of accumulate here, and you'll see a lot of offshore activity. But if you're in the Florida Panhandle and parts of Florida here, by the end of this loop, you're starting to get very large totals, maybe some 3-4 inch totals actually inland, with even higher amounts, as you can see here, 4, 5, 6 inch totals offshore in that region. And again, there might be a little bit of tropical activity there, and I'll talk about that here in just a minute. Coming back here for the flood watches, as you might expect, that one area of potential heavy rain has a flood watch in effect for western Pennsylvania, a small chunk of New York, and also around the Washington, D.C. area, and then back in West Texas, but especially through parts of New Mexico. They've had a lot of rain recently, so any additional rain would cause some flooding. Here's the latest drought index, in case you're keeping track of that, June 26th. A lot of this in the central U.S., northern plains was alleviated, but there's still some patchiness in Nebraska. Florida could use some rain, a little dry, especially in the southeast corner. And still, this remains the driest part of the country, although there are continue to be signs that the monsoon's healthy here. Both moisture flow off the Gulf, and also a weak low that might form here might pump some moisture up into Arizona. So it looks like we might be able to take care of some of those areas a little more thoroughly over the next couple of days as well. Hot weather, hazardous heat, July 2nd through the 6th. So if you're going out and about for the 4th of July holiday, and if we consider that a 3-day weekend, let's see, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so 4, 5, and 6. So this basically is just a progressive hot weather movement here. So it starts here, ends up here, and then sinks south and east through the remainder of that holiday weekend. We'll just take a quick look at what the Weather Service is saying for high temperatures. I was kind of zoomed in on that area here. Wednesday, Chicago very close to 90, 89 degrees. Some 90s popping up in parts of northern Missouri, maybe also out through the Dakotas and Nebraska. If we look at Thursday, it's getting pretty hot. Low 90s in the Chicagoland area, maybe mid 90s in a couple of places. Much of Missouri heating up with 90s coming back there. Even the Ozarks Plateau not protecting them a whole lot. And then we go to Friday, and you see a little bit of cooling behind a front up in the northern plains, but still pretty hot. 94 downtown Chicago, 92 in Springfield, Illinois, but a little bit cooler through Iowa and parts of Nebraska. They were seeing some pretty hot weather there. So it is hot weather, but it is progressive. So it does move along. It doesn't stay in one place too long, which, heat waves do that. I wouldn't necessarily call this a heat wave, but I would call it something to watch out for on the 4th of July holiday weekend. Well, here's the surface map. And now a lot of times at the surface in summertime, we're definitely qualified here as a summer pattern, we don't see much. And there is a cool front here from Michigan down through the heart of Missouri and backing off as a stationary front through parts of Colorado. And what I want to do is take a look and see if we can find that front. So let's look at temperatures. Yeah, a little bit. You're seeing upper 80s out here This is mitigated quite a bit by cloud cover and various shower and thunderstorm area. But you can also see upper 70s around Kansas City, east or west central Missouri, up through Illinois. Very pleasant temperatures. So yeah, these fronts in the summer are not typically all that noticeable or strong. And it's already heating back into the 80s on the back side of that, and never really cooled down around Wichita. Let's try to look at dew points, because dew points are often a good measure of a change in air mass. And yeah, a little bit around the Ozark Plateau area, but surrounded by temperatures, dew point temperatures in the low 70s. You'd have to go all the way back to Nebraska and Iowa to find dew points that drop into the 50s. So again, very typical of a summer type front. The temperatures change very little. That sometimes the moisture values, dew points, do change, but it takes a while. You have to go way behind the front to get it, and because the frontal boundaries are very shallow in the summer and typically not very well defined. Take a look at the visible satellite loop here. You can see the new air mass coming into Iowa. So even though the front is here again, it's a very shallow sloped front, so you don't really get into the rarefied air until you get up there into Nebraska and Iowa, which is what that dew point analysis showed on the visible satellite here with the 500 millibar of flow overlaid on top of that. Pretty good trough for summertime moving through here. So this is representing cooler and drier air, stabilizing effect in an area that's had a lot of thunderstorms and actual tornadoes for the last several weeks up in the Dakotas, Minnesota, parts of Iowa. So they are getting a welcome relief. Speaking of severe weather, where is it shifted now and how bad is it? Well, I'm pleased to report that severe weather is really quite a bit quieter. The jet stream is not very strong. There is a trough of low pressure, as you saw here, but the cloud cover has caused the stability to be not as pronounced in these areas here. So the weather's kind of all over the board. Level 1 here through much of the Midwest into the eastern part of the country. Now for Tuesday, slight risk, that's the 2 out of 5 risk, starts to show up from around New York City down to the heart of Virginia. And that's that front really kind of approaching that area there, helping to trigger more organized showers and storms. And the effects of the cooler, drier air are very evident in the Great Plains and in the Great Lakes states. I have a severe weather outlooks video that is specifically focuses on this. I did issue it daily. Now it'll be issued when there's something like a slight risk in the forecast or greater. But be watching for that. If I do put those out, they'll be in the morning right after the Storm Prediction Center's official upgrade for that day. Well, we have some activity here in the tropical Atlantic here. There is a small risk, and that's coming up here in about the day 6, day 7 time frame, maybe day 5 Friday. So they're really broad brushing either tropical development on this side of Florida or this side of Florida. Why? Because the models are being really wishy-washy about which side to pick. This is a stalled out front, and a lot of times this time of year, that's one really favored area for possible tropical storm or hurricane development. The waters are actually pretty warm here, so there is some possibility. And the only hint I can find, if you look at the GFS model, you'll notice there's a little low right there, parked, just tucked up there into northwest Florida, and you can see the winds going around that here. There's definitely circulation there, but this is not even close to being tropical storm strength. The winds are very, very weak. I was just trying to find some hint of something out in that area. So if we look at the probabilities for hurricane season in the Atlantic, 60% chance of being above normal with 3 to 5 major hurricanes. Once again, need to emphasize that there is no indication or attempt to say whether these major hurricanes will landfall and even where they'll landfall. That's just not part of the forecast. We've already gone through Andrea and Barry. Barry formed very quickly in the last 36 hours and made landfall. It was disorganized there off the eastern Mexico coast. Chantal would be the next storm. So if we do get something around the Gulf or the Atlantic there coming up this weekend, that would be the next name. We've gone to a new name, Flossie, in the eastern Pacific. And the next 3 would be Gil, Henriette, and Ivo. And finally, the last thing we'll look at is the July temperature outlook. In case you missed that, it's forecast with a pretty high level of confidence to be hot out in the western United States and in parts of New England and the Great Lakes, perhaps with near normal temperatures where you don't see any color. And on the precipitation front, looks like a fairly good probability, not the greatest confidence, but you were talking about 50%, 60% chance maybe of confidence on high precipitation values for Atlanta, Washington, much of the eastern U.S., and a little dry in the northern Rockies around Montana. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.